Around this time every year, as the mornings are getting cooler and the leaves begin to change, I start to think about preparing for autumn and what that means. I begin to change what I'm eating to mirror the seasons and what's available. I preserve a lot of food to enjoy in different ways throughout the colder months. I repair my winter wardrobe, declutter anything that hasn't been serving me, and really try to take care of the garden and appreciate what's left of the summer plants. For the past couple of years, I've also been learning new skills so I can make some of my own clothes, repair what I have, and really dig into a project that gives me a huge sense of achievement once I've finished making a new jumper or something else. Now is the time where things are starting to slow down in the garden. Plants aren't growing as quickly, tomatoes are turning red and cooling off, and I'm thinking about how we can turn these beauties into something that will last. Welcome to my cozy season, where we're preparing for autumn. We'll be food prepping, preserving and fermenting, making socks and colour work jumpers, decluttering our home and repairing holes in our clothes, and of course, eating a lot of good food. So if that's up your street, feel free to subscribe so you never miss another video. A big thank you to Craftsy for sponsoring a portion of today's video. Now let's grab a cup of tea and I guess we'll start with making socks. So it is very much still summer here in Denver, but the mornings are getting very chilly, so I know that autumn will be coming very soon. The colours will definitely start to change in maybe 2-3 weeks, but things really change very fast here. So I thought this preparing for autumn video, part of it could be repairing my winter socks, the ones that just have some holes in, and also I'm gonna learn to make some of my own. Last year I learned the Turkish cast on for my hot water bottle, a cover that I made, but this year with the socks I'm gonna go toe up, use something that's very similar to the Turkish cast on, but it's called the Magic Loop cast on or Magic Cut, something like that, which is very similar. But I have no idea how to make socks, so I'm going to learn how to make them first and then I'm just gonna give it a go, because I feel like once you get it, it's such a perfect thing to do in the evenings. Just make one sock every evening for however long until you have a good amount of autumn winter socks. I also have some very exciting projects coming up for winter things, and there are 2 jumpers that I'm gonna make that I'm very excited about. That'll be my first foray into color work. Bit nervous, but I'm ready. I have the patience. We're gonna get started with these socks first. I'm using like 3mm needles, which is a little big. I'm using fingerling, the smallest type of yarn to make these socks. But once I get it down, I will experiment with bigger yarn and bigger needles, smaller needles, all that kind of stuff. I just really like the look of things that are made with really small needles. I think it looks very neat and very nice. I'm gonna learn how to do this and we will get started. Okay, this is the reality of trying to learn something new whilst also trying to learn a new way of knitting. This is all I have done, and this has honestly taken me, I reckon, 5 hours. 5 hours. And I've literally just done like the footbed. But I'm finding these tiny needles actually quite challenging. I'm used to obviously using much bigger needles, but I prefer the look of tiny needles. I think that it just looks so much better, so much neater. But I've been trying to change the way that I knit. A lot of people online keep telling me that I'm so slow, which to be honest, I don't care. That's not why I'm changing. But a lot of people have said that the way, if you hold the thread on this side and knit like this, is a lot faster than having it on the other side and just doing that. But that has been messing with the tension of my sock. So that's definitely, you can see through it that there's like a nice tight tension, or not tight, but like normal. And then it gets quite loose and then I gave up, and I'm finally making some progress with my first sock. I've done the heel flap bit. So this is the front. I've done the kind of like gusset bit and then we're onto the heel flap. I cannot tell you how frustrating that was. Honestly, if you drop stitches by accident on tiny needles, getting them back it's a real practice in patience, in not getting frustrated, in not getting excessively angry and just throwing it on the floor and just being like, I just don't care. I don't wish to continue. And then obviously regretting that later. Didn't do that. I really wanted to, but I didn't. Maybe not to you, but to me, looking more like a sock. I really am regretting not learning how to knit 2 socks at a time, but After I finish this sock, then I'm going to actually take a class on knitting 2 socks at a time so that I don't have to just do one again, because the likelihood of them being the same size is like this big. It's like this big. It really is. It's almost as though I've forgotten how to take notes and how... I'm just gonna continue. I'm having an absolute mare with this pattern and this technique, so I'm unraveling and starting again. I think I'm going to use the classes from Craftsy to learn how to do 2 socks at a time. I've been using Craftsy for a couple of weeks now. I've been looking at different classes. Like when I was in France, my family were eating a lot of cannelé and I wanted to make a vegan version, so I took their class on that. But I'm going to take their class on the 2 sock method and see if I have some better luck. Unraveling my sock, which admittedly I'd spent hours and hours on, was quite sad, but I thought better to start again and get it right. So this time I took a look at the 2 socks at a time course on Craftsy before getting started. And Craftsy are kindly sponsoring this portion of the video, so let me tell you a little more about them. Craftsy offers over 2,000 classes for makers of all skill levels, with step-by-step instruction in more than 20 categories like knitting, cooking, sewing, painting, and so many more. One of my favourite parts is that you can actually connect with other makers and DIYers to share ideas or get help on your project. This 2 at a time sock class has been so clear and really helped me grasp what I'm actually supposed to be doing. I've also been looking at sewing and quilting classes, but the next one I'm going to take is the join as you go seamless crochet techniques, which is going to be so helpful in the future. So if you're interested in checking it out for yourself, the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. I've had a really great experience with Craftsy, so if you're interested, check out the link. Okay, I'm feeling much better about this method. I'm doing top down first, and we've got our 2 socks going at the same time. Anyway, I'm going very slowly, so I'm going to keep working on this, and we're going to go back in time and we're going to be talking about some of the decluttering that we're doing, because I love to go through absolutely everything that I own, especially in the kitchen for preparing for autumn, because it helps me to prevent food waste. So let's go back in time and let's get to some decluttering. Part of my preparing for autumn is ensuring that we don't have any food in the cupboards that's not being eaten. Food waste in this house is a crime, in my opinion, especially because we have the ability and resources to go through our cupboards and ensure that food is being eaten. And because we have that ability, I want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. So we moved in maybe a year and a half ago now. I mean, that seems wild. No, it's almost 2 years. It's almost 2 years since we moved into this house, which feels very wild to say. And so obviously things have been accumulating in the cupboard when we've been getting different spices, and I've been baking a lot and just new things that have come up that we want to cook. So inevitably we have probably multiple jars of things, or which I don't like, because it's a waste of money to buy new things when we already have the stuff in our cupboard. And I just want to be better at kind of keeping a track of what we actually have. We have a corner cupboard that we keep a lot of our stuff in, which makes it harder to know what's in there. So we're going to do a little bit of decluttering and organizing of the kitchen cupboards. Again, I do this because I want to reduce food waste and because it's just, more helpful, but I don't like spending money on food for it to then not be eaten or forgotten about and then buy something new, because no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I've probably mentioned it before, but the price of food in the US is much, much higher than the UK and in Europe in general. And I just went home to visit my family and I was able to really look at how much the pricing was different in France and the UK. And so it really makes me think about the things that I buy in terms of food and what we can make work in our budget and how much money we're willing to spend on food. So of course, it makes us want to be very careful about the food that we do buy. And especially when it comes to the recipes that I film for Instagram or for YouTube, a lot of those ingredients can be slightly pricier. So I want to be making sure I'm only getting what I need, that we're making sure that we eat those ingredients and we're storing them correctly so that they don't go to waste before we've had a time to use them. Nuts are actually a really good example of this. I actually have some pistachios in the freezer. And if you've ever bought pistachios before, you know that it's painful. It's actually painful how expensive they are. But if you store them in the freezer, it helps them to last longer, When it comes to nuts and probably seeds as well, but I will check that, heat is their biggest enemy and it can help them to go rancid a lot quicker. And if you're going to spend your money on nuts, then you don't want them to go weird or forget about them in the back of your cupboard. And a really easy way just to keep them that bit fresher is to put them in the freezer. Another good way to preserve them is also just to turn them into a nut butter if you like those things, because then it will last a lot longer because it releases their natural oils and it helps to stabilize the product, which is pretty cool. I actually mentioned in my book that is coming out in just a few weeks now, which can be pre-ordered, which I'm so excited about. I mentioned this in there, literally how to store all of your food to prevent food waste, and obviously a lot more as well. But yeah, it's just one of the things that comes up. So if you are interested and you want to support my work, then check out the pre-order link in the description. I really appreciate it. Okay, we're gonna start with this corner cupboard. It's got a lot of things in it, but it'll be a bit too boring for you to watch me take everything out. So let me take everything out and then, ooh, do you know what? I'm listening to a really good book right now called Yellow Face. It's really good. So I'm gonna put that on and take everything out of here. For me, decluttering gives me a sense of where I'm at in terms of understanding my consumption, what I'm using up, and what may have been too much to buy. I'm someone who really likes to take stock of things. I like to feel like I have control over my choices, and when things get a little overwhelming, I know I have the power to change something. I always declutter in the same way. I take everything out, give it a good clean, consolidate what I can, and take note of what we've gone through quickly and what has barely been touched. I always make a habit of checking the cupboards, writing a list and double checking the fridge before heading out to buy anything new. But I definitely wasn't always like this. Habits take time to change, and I'm certainly a work in progress. I did not realize how much stuff we had in that corner cupboard, and it just shows you that in some ways I feel like it's quite badly designed. Obviously it wants to maximize space, but there are a lot of things in there that I have not seen for a while. Also, because we did move in almost 2 years ago, this is the first time that I've actually gone in there and assessed what we still have. Look, cleaning, not my strong point. Tidying, not my strong suit. But I'm determined to figure this out. I think it might make more sense to put things, like fewer things in that cupboard, that middle one. Maybe like our plates and our bowls, now that I've downsized quite a lot. And then also maybe like our glass bowls that I use for like baking and mixing big salads and things like that. And then putting all of the jarred spices and whatever, all that kind of stuff in the plate cupboard so I can actually see everything. And then hopefully it'll get used. I'm gonna put all the plates away in the bowls, and then I'll start consolidating all of those things and put them in the, we'll see. Let's see how it goes. This year I mostly grew tomatoes. I knew they would do well, and they just taste so much better than store-bought. Every year a few more become ready to pick, which feels like a real treat. We only have maybe another month or so before the nights become too cold for the tomato, chili and basil plants, so I'm really trying to make the most of them while I can. In the next episode of Preparing for Autumn, I'm going to be preserving and fermenting lots of summer produce to last through the autumn and winter, finish my first pair of socks, and start my biggest knitting project yet. This video is definitely more of an intro to cozy season, so there will be lots more content to come. Please stick around, so subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for being here, I really appreciate you.